Welcome back to the Luminous Body podcast, Healing from Within. This is episode 9 of Inside Out, exploring the chemistry of health, part 5, real life toxic overload. I am your co-host today, Dr. Hilary Conroy, a chiropractor and kinesiologist, and I'm joined by
Dr. Jaxson Waring. Jump in there.
Yeah.
I'm also a chiropractor and kinesiologist.
And he's super stoked to tell his story today because
you took up the whole last.
I took up the whole last episode and now it is his time to shine.
My turn.
Now, Jaxson.
Yeah. So the next 3 are mine.
The next 3.
We all know how much I can talk, and especially about myself. But anyway, we have been exploring our stories and our experiences of toxic overload and pathogens. Coming off the last episode before yours, where we explored different pathogens and toxins, how they affect our biochemistry, right? And so we talked about Hilary's journey with mercury last episode, and this episode we're going to talk about my journey with SIBO. SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and it's been a journey.
It has been a journey. And, you know, for context,
yeah.
you have had many a surgery.
I've had many a surgery. As you all know by now, I'm a transgender man. I'm very proud, very visible. Love it. But yeah, my medical transition has been a long and arduous process.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot and I've learned a lot, and I'm very, very grateful for it, for all the lessons. But yeah, in October 2022, I started my phalloplasty journey. And phalloplasty is a surgery that is split into 3 parts, stage 1, 2, and 3. And it's basically the formation or the creation of a phallus and all the other structures that go with that.
That's right.
And so each surgery was long
and
deep, extensive, very complex. It's one of those surgeries that one of my surgeons called it traveling to the moon and back. You don't do it very often in your career as a surgeon, and not many surgeons do it. In fact, in Australia, there is only one surgeon at the moment that does it. Thankfully, he's one of the best in the world, Dr. Jaxson.
Brilliant.
In Brisbane. But anyway, my journey really started there when it came to SIBO. So throughout all 3 surgeries, I went through 20 hours of general anesthetic. I took 10 weeks worth of extremely strong antibiotics, very strong painkillers, anti-inflammatories, and the rest. I was also given intravenous antibiotics for weeks after, days after each op, as well as IV painkillers as well. So I was really quite heavily dosed up.
That's a lot. That's a lot for a body to process.
Yeah, it was a lot.
The whole point of all those antibiotics is that bacteria cannot replicate.
That's right. And it worked. I mean, yeah. My surgical results were amazing. I had no need for a revision. I had no complications. And this is a kind of surgery that the complication rate is extremely high. So it's like around 82%.
Yeah.
For genitourinary issues and things like that. But I was very blessed to have gotten through without any of those.
Yeah.
Blessed, and also it took a lot of hard work. A lot of research, a lot of conversations, heaps of preparation. I really leaned on the tools that we have in the clinic. I really leaned on the kinesiology testing. I leaned on holistic care, and leaned on my spiritual beliefs as well.
Yeah.
And I think the combination of everything got me through. And it really cemented in me how essential complementary and holistic care really is. But anyway, basically, I did all these amazing things, but having my body exposed to hospital conditions, surgical instruments, you know, the kind of surgery that I had in all 3 stages was very deep. So a lot of my deeper kind of organs were exposed to the outside world. And I think that's part of how I managed to contract a lot of these funky bacteria that I ended up having in my gut.
That, and all your commensal bacteria. So all the bacteria that we have in our gut lives in a beautiful balance. And the bacteria that we do have that is supportive of our health is imperative for the prevention of the multiplication of less good bacteria.
That's right. So with all the amazing medicines that I had that really helped me heal and do well, they also wiped out a lot of that commensal and good bacteria.
Yes.
So I introduced a couple of species that probably shouldn't be in there, and I also killed off all the species that really help keep the balance. And so as a result, I ended up with a dysbiosis or an overgrowth.
Yeah.
Particularly in my small intestine. And so SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, is kind of notorious in the alternative health space as being very difficult to treat because it's in the small intestine. The small intestine is a very deep part of the gut. It's sealed off from the large bowel and the stomach.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of protective stuff in the stomach. It's got a lot of acids that burn bacteria so they can't actually live and all those other things. And so, yeah, I just had a little farm going in there.
You really did. But how did you feel having a little farm going?
Yeah. So look, after all my ops, I was feeling really good.
Yeah.
I was in a really good place. I felt pretty healthy. It felt pretty good, but I knew something wasn't right. I knew because my diet was very beige.
I was curious as to whether or not you were going to talk about this.
Oh, no. Yeah. I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah. It was quite beige and full of sugar.
Yeah. So I copped a pretty serious sugar addiction.
Yeah.
A pretty serious junk food addiction. So hot chips.
Yeah.
Burgers, gluten and dairy free, but still burgers.
Yes.
I think I was probably drinking soft drink almost every day. If not every day.
Every day.
Oh, it's like every day.
It's definitely every day.
Yeah.
A funny
and look,
story.
It was a funny thing because in all of these ops, I had to stay in Brisbane for a really long time after my op. So the first op, I stayed in Brisbane for 6 weeks. I stayed in Brisbane for 5 weeks after the second one and 3 weeks after the third one. And what I found was I'm really good on my own and I had amazing support, don't get me wrong. But day to day, I had large chunks of time where I was alone. And looking back, I think I really did use food as company, as a way to like support me while I was
what I was going to
getting
say
through the long nights
was that
and afternoons.
You were feeling so average that often the only thing you would want to eat were hot chips. I did many a run.
That's what started it. Because I was sick after the first one with the medicine.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do food. I couldn't do complex foods.
You could hardly eat.
Nutrient dense foods, just my body said no. Something said no.
Something.
So I was still having all my smoothies and stuff, but I would always the only thing I really felt comfortable eating was hot chips.
Yeah.
Which was amazing because I don't even know, before that I didn't eat that many.
No. The beast started after surgery.
I was like, I need hot chips.
But I will add, you lost about 7 to 8 kilos after the first surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another 8 after the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was a lot. It was a lot on the body. It was a lot on the mind. And I did develop these little crutches of food. And so that was one of the main symptoms, was that my diet was 80% junk, I would say.
Yes.
80% beige. And I was also foraging for it. So I didn't feel like eating fruit. I didn't feel like eating vegetables. And even though I forced myself to, I didn't go for them. So when you don't go for something, they drop out and more and more and more. And so I had that. I always felt puffy.
Yeah.
My face, especially, I felt like my eyes were always puffy.
You had big bags under your eyes.
I did have large bags. Yeah. My cheeks were quite round and I was always bloated.
Yeah.
I was always bloated. And it was the bloating that really kind of got me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't just feel bloated. I felt so disconnected from my mid section.
Yeah.
I couldn't contract anything. And anyway, I felt very off in that area. So I hooked up with our naturopath.
You're also really tired. You couldn't get out of bed before.
I was so tired.
If you could have stayed in bed till 10 every day, you would have.
Yeah. Which post-op feels normal. But this was way past post-op. This was 3 months later and I was still, it was really hard to get out of bed.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I got together with our naturopath and she recommended I do a blood test and a stool test. And so I did both. My blood test came back first and my blood test came back pristine.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
Picture of health.
Picture of health. Totally normal. My doctor was like, how is it that your vitamin D is so good? And I was like, well, I'll take vitamin D.
Yeah.
That's health.
There are reasons. Yeah.
But no, my doctor was impressed and it was all good. But then I got my stool test back and my stool test was shocking.
It was very, very colourful.
A lot of red.
Yeah. Mostly red.
Red meaning that things were too high.
Yeah.
So, or too low. And so what I found really interesting was that you can have a pristine blood test and you can have shocking functional tests.
Yeah.
Which means that blood tests just aren't the best indicator for how well you are.
It was the same for me. I had great blood tests and mercury
everywhere.
Off the Richter.
Neurotoxic symptoms all over. Yeah, that's right. So if you do feel off, not quite right, you get a blood test, it's perfect. That's not the end of the road. You must keep looking because there is something there.
Yes.
And I think a lot of doctors will go, no, your blood test is great. So, you know, forget about your symptoms. It's all good.
Yeah, you're fine.
It's like, well, I couldn't forget about the ones I had. That's for sure. So the stool test came back and it was pretty shocking. So I had very high levels of toxic bacteria in my small intestine. By the way, the stool test that I did is called the GI MAP test from Designs for Health, an extremely comprehensive stool test. It comprehensively tests for the presence of different types of bacteria, different types of parasites, viruses, Helicobacter pylori. It also tests for good bacteria that you should have. It also tests for enzymes that indicate inflammation, autoimmune conditions. It tests for secretory IgA and other immunoglobulins alongside zonulin, which is a marker for leaky gut. So I was, I didn't have any viruses or fungi or parasites, which is great.
Yep.
But the bacteria was out of control. I had somehow managed to grow and maintain hemorrhagic E. coli, which is would normally cause quite significant food. What's that word? Food
reactivity?
No, poisoning.
Poisoning.
Food poisoning.
Oh,
symptoms.
food poisoning.
Sorry,
Got it.
Especially because hemorrhagic.
You'd feel sick.
Yeah, it makes you hemorrhage. So it actually makes your gut bleed. Yeah, which I didn't have any blood in my stools, which is great. So my immune system was working so hard to contain that.
No wonder you were tired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I also had streptococcus in really high levels. Streptococcus is one of the main bacteria that causes SIBO. And I had a couple others as well, which Proteus and things like that, which were not good either. Some of them were extremely high levels. Alongside that, I had some good bacteria like Akkermansias and other bacteria that were non-existent.
Yeah.
So like your mercury was off the charts, mine was off the charts, but for nothing.
Yeah.
So I had literally none. And some of these bacteria in particular, they make the bowel nice and mucousy and wet and like a normal. So it was quite dry in there, I think. It wasn't really flowing.
No.
Because of these bacteria. And then, so I had some other bacteria in there that cause autoimmune diseases and chronic inflammation, which I think I was sort of heading towards, especially blood sugar imbalance, hence the dietary change. And I also had extremely high levels of zonulin. So I had a proper leaky gut.
Yeah.
So looking at that, my naturopath and I decided we'd trial some supplements for a few weeks. I felt a little bit better, maybe like 10% better.
Yeah.
The bloating was still there. I was probably eating a bit better. I felt a little bit less congested, but basically I was still the same. So at the turn of the new year, we got together again and my naturopath introduced the concept of the SIBO biphasic diet, which is a prescriptive diet, a protocol that basically starves the bacteria of anything that it would use to survive. And so that protocol looks like removing all sugars, all starch, all carbohydrates from my diet.
All the joy.
Pretty much all joy. Yeah, exactly. Anything that I had currently, previously.
Your entire diet.
Yeah, my entire
out the window.
And this is me. I'm already gluten and dairy free.
Yeah.
So I was about to head into this protocol. It was really strict, but I knew that that was what I needed.
You just had to do it.
I knew I needed to do that. I am not a person of great willpower.
But desperate times call for desperate measures. You had to get to the state that you were in was lots of surgeries, lots of medications, and often when it takes a lot to get somewhere, it takes a lot to come out of it.
True. And I think the other thing that really spurred me on, what really made me commit was knowing that was the only way to get better. Also, I was just ready for it. I think I was sick of myself a little bit, like sick of the way that I was eating and like going after certain foods. Like it was like a real addiction. Like I wasn't in control.
No.
And the other thing was I had already been through these major surgeries. I'd had 3 to 4 months off work each time. I knew that this SIBO protocol was 2 to 3 months. And I thought 2 to 3 months just isn't a long time. It's not a long time, but the results that I could get could be so profound and it could just sort this out for me that I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to commit. I'm going to get through this.
Yep.
And I did. And so the first 4 weeks of this protocol is basically meats and vegetables. The vegetables being like cucumber.
Non-starchy.
Carrot, non-starchy, spinach, greens, things like that. So no potato. I could have a half cup of pumpkin a day and that saved me. Mm-hmm. That was it. And I pretty much felt better after the first month. So my bloating was gone. All the puffiness was gone. I felt really clear in my head.
You were glowing.
I was radiant.
Right, you were.
And constantly people were commenting on how I was radiant. And I just felt much more connected.
Yeah.
And that was in the first month. I had to continue it for a little while. But basically after the second month, I could introduce fruits, which was amazing. And then after the 3 months, I could start introducing grains and things like that I could, the more complex foods that were more likely to feed these bacteria.
A bit of a weed and feed.
Yeah. I mean, in the first 2 days of the cleanse, I was on the toilet all the time peeing. And I weighed myself and I lost 4.5 kilos of fluid in the first 3 days.
Whoa.
Yeah. At the end of the 3 months, I lost 10 kilos, which is unbelievable. I've never been sub 70 in a long, since I started transitioning. And so I wasn't in it for the weight loss, but what I really released was the fluid from the inflammation.
That's right.
It wasn't necessarily fat cells. It was just the fluid. I was so inflamed. I just didn't know it. It was well contained in my body. It just had to come out. So I did this SIBO biphasic diet. I enhanced that with supplements that would kill off the bacteria. So the other amazing thing about these functional stool tests is that the companies that have performed them have taken the bacteria that they've found and cultured it, that they found in people's stools. And they've cultured it, they've grown it, and then they've exposed these bacteria to lots of different types of herbs and plant medicines. And what they found is that oil of oregano is very effective at killing bacteria and parasites, that uva ursi is extremely potent at killing all kinds of bacteria and parasites, that berberine is really good at balancing inflammation, blood sugar levels, zonulin, and also feeding those commensal bacteria like Akkermansias and things like that. I took saccharides that would help seal the gut, glutamine as well. I took a lot of different things.
Lots of things.
Yeah, I was on a pretty heavy protocol. I also really had to manage the stress component.
Yeah.
Because what really came up for me during the protocol
That's right.
was basically
how much you used food as a crutch.
Yeah, food was the main source of dopamine for me. I could not farm dopamine in any other way. The first 4 weeks of this diet, I struggled so much.
You were beside yourself.
I was very flat. I felt quite depressed. I had nothing to go to, which was quite distressing. I stuck to it because all I could remember was what was in there and that whatever I put in my mouth was going there. So I had to stick to it. But it was really revealing to see just how much I couldn't farm my own dopamine.
Yeah.
And so dopamine was helping me focus, maintain concentration, be interested in anything, especially like my work, all these things. And so without any dopamine, I was very scattered. I found my memory was pretty terrible. Yeah, I had a lot of trouble keeping up.
A lot of bouncing around, and you're not really prone to low moods, but you were low.
I was low, and I was low for the 4 weeks.
Yeah, even though you were radiant.
Yes, even though I looked amazing, and I said, and the other really amazing thing that happened pretty much 2 weeks in was my intuition just like went through the roof. Talking to people, I could really understand them. Like I could really feel, Yeah. It was really, really cool. And that hasn't gone away.
You're much clearer.
I've maintained that. I've maintained this connection, which is beautiful. But pretty much as soon as fruit came back into my diet, boom, my brain was just like alert, good to go, ready to go.
He's back.
Inspired, creative again. So the fruit, the glucose for my brain was essential. But it was nice to rebalance it, not just get that glucose from like, I don't know, what was I eating? Giggles.
Yeah. For those not sure about Giggles, they're the gluten-free version of Skittles.
They're great.
Jaxson would go through a bag almost every day.
Really?
Every couple of days, yeah.
I want to say it lasted me a few days, but I supplemented that with a lot of, because I like variety.
Well, yeah. So. Your big bowls of dessert, including brownies and ice cream and
peanut butter.
Nutella.
No, I put strawberries.
And strawberries and blueberries. Can't forget those. But yeah, no, I think over the course of the cleanse, you focused on, eliminating the harmful bacteria.
Yeah.
And then the cleanse and your supplements focused on repopulating the good bacteria.
That's right.
Because
and sealing the gut.
Yes, it's not sufficient to just get rid of bad bacteria.
No, because I had created a body that very, very well housed those bacteria.
Yes.
It was a perfect environment for them to thrive. And that's why they did thrive. And so I had to do this protocol to change my system so it could no longer support that kind of bacteria, could no longer support that inflammatory mechanism, could no longer support my blood sugar imbalance, all of that. And since that protocol, I've sort of been working towards creating a body that can also produce dopamine.
Very important.
That's a work in progress.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah. And so I would say that I'm yet to do another stool test.
Yeah.
However, I would say that all of my symptoms are gone and I'm in a much better place. And something that was really important to me through that protocol that I discovered was that when I wasn't constantly hunting for food as a dopamine fix, my worldview could expand and I started to find joy in so many other things. So I got back into the garden, I got back into journaling, I got back into walking and meditation, and I found that I was receiving not so much a dopamine hit, but I had a low level of undercurrent of that always in my body. That releasing the attachments to food liberated my mental well-being so much, so profoundly that I can honestly say that doing that protocol is one of the best things I've done for myself in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. And I feel much more confident now. Like, we go out for meals. I don't eat like I did when I was going through surgery, but I can explore different foods and I feel really comfortable and confident doing that, knowing that my gut's really strong now, can handle it. Yeah.
Yeah. Your gut's, it's completely different.
Yeah.
You're very different.
Yes.
And I'm glad you did that. Thank you, Hope.
Yeah. Thank you, Hope. Hope's our naturopath. Just an incredibly insightful practitioner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a journey.
So that was quite the journey. Look, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna be bringing in probably the last part of our biochemical series in our next episode, part 6, which will be common nutritional deficiencies. I want to thank you all for listening to my story.
Thanks for telling your story.
Yeah, thanks.
That was really good.
If it's helped you, let us know. Love to hear your comments. If you have any questions, feel free to message us or email us. Our contacts are in our show notes. If you know someone who might benefit from this information, share this podcast with them. Let them know as well. And we will see you next week. Like us, subscribe to this podcast, never miss an episode.
And thank you
so
for
much.
tuning in.
Yes.
We're grateful.